And with that, and I know it's redundant, but I want to make sure folks understand it and understand what we as a board have come up with, what we shaped for a policy, what we've adapted for procedures to enact that policy. Is there anyone here who would like to speak? Mr. Holden.
Stand, if you brought the music stand, as I talk with my hand, this is a handout that, if I may, I'd like to give something to the board.
Sure, and I know who you are, but please state your name and your affiliation.
Yeah, I am David Hoagland, and I teach band in this district, and more importantly, I'm a father, I'm a grandfather, which is why I'm here, because it would hurt my heart, as I know it would hurt your hearts, if any one boy from this district were injured by a COVID vaccine unintentionally. If it happened to one boy, if his heart tissue in myocarditis, if his heart tissue was damaged, and if it restricted his physical activity for life, I know that would hurt all of us. And myocarditis is a known, completely acknowledged risk of all the COVID vaccines, including the ones being offered here next week. It's acknowledged by Pfizer, by Moderna, by CDC, by everybody. And there are many different studies, and some say the likelihood is 1 in 18,000 doses, which is still gives one pause. Other studies say it's 1 in 2,700 doses these are of teenage boys. But it also occurs in girls, teenage girls, and sometimes in younger boys and girls as well. And I know it would feel unacceptable if that would happen to even one student here. And I know it would seem unacceptable risk if one girl was vaccinated here and grew up to find 5 years from now, 10 years from now, that she had a diminished ability to have children or to bring them to term. And there again, we have no idea because these vaccines are so new. The girls that have been vaccinated, prepubescent, pubescent, teenage, they haven't reached childbearing years. Those studies haven't been done. And 5, 10, 15 years from now, a study could come out, longitudinal study, that girls who were vaccinated as children or teens had a blank percentage higher chance of having miscarriages. And why am I saying things that are just out of the blue? No, because the NIH, Anthony Fauci's organization, National Institute of Health, did a study. I was here last year and they said, we haven't studied this. Why are we giving this to girls? We haven't studied it. Well, they spent a couple $1 million studying it, and the NIH has a study out, and it showed that 60 to 70% of women, this would have been an adult woman, 60 to 70% of women after the second dose of either or any of the 3 vaccines, 60 to 70% had menstrual period irregularities ranging from no period to excessive bleeding to strange uterine bleeding. 60 to 70% had that, and only half of those resolved after 2 months. Now, I need to study better what happened to the other half. I need to read more carefully, and I think so do you.
It's been 3 minutes, and I allowed extra time while you were passing this out.
Appreciate that.
So do you want to wrap up?
Thank you.
What your actual concern is?
Thank you. The information's there. So the real concern is risk-benefit, is that what the information from the hospital was woefully inadequate, and it was not risk-benefit. And I cannot imagine being in your shoes and saying, yes, this is fine to offer this. It's not us endorsing it. Well, it is. You're trusting the hospital, that trusts the CDC, that trusts the national CDC. I pray that unless you have reason to think there's a benefit, if you look at the sheet, the benefit is really zero or negative. The vaccine doesn't cause it.
We have the sheet in front of us.
Thank you. So I beg that, thank you. I beg that you'll read the sheet carefully.
Yes,
I hope that you will. Thank you.
My understanding is the superintendent, during the superintendent report, will have some information about the arrangement with the hospital for an option for families who choose to have the vaccination to have it here in Seattle. Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak?
Yep. I don't have time, so hopefully I'll be short. You can pull me up.
I just need to know your name.
I will give it to you. Alan, A-L-A-N.
Oh, yes.
Imes, I-M-E-S.
Yes, of course.
I am a local pastor in Waterville for 26 years. I'm also a business owner with my son for the last 13 years in Fairfield. So we have vested interest. We have a lot of teens in our church. We have a lot of kids in our church. So it's interesting, and first of all, I appreciate you guys serving. I know that obviously you serve because you care about the safety, the academic excellence of kids and teenagers. So thank you so much for serving. So it's interesting watching, you watch a football game or watching a show, and then comes on any type of pharmacist, any type of pharmaceutical products. They always give you, remember the risk. It's interesting, kind of fun. They're mild risk, and then they say on occasion there's going to be some severe risk, and here's the risk. So, but it's interesting that COVID-19 on TV, they don't do that. The vaccine for COVID-19, they just say, man, it's good. You should get it. You need to get the booster. It's available. It's going to help with this, going to help with that. They don't list any of the side effects or potential side effects. I will say this, you guys have a great responsibility. I think as a pastor and as a business owner, somebody that's been in the area 34 years now, not all my life, but 34 years, and has a vested interest in the communities here, that the responsibility, if a child should have the vaccine, should be a parent's responsibility, period. That's my thought. It should not be a school board, it should not be a CDC. The CDC and Dr. Fauci and the state government and the federal government has been you guys have to admit, they've been all over the board for the last couple of years. I mean, I think it's not a debate. They've been all over the board. They said Dr. Fauci said no mask, you don't need them. Then mask, then double mask. 6 feet apart, stay home, don't have school, do it online. Well, here's my thought. Those are serious, but not as serious as the vaccine. And what has the last couple of years helped our kids with? The academics are way down. Death among suicide and suicide attempts is way up. That's not gossip, it's way up. I deal with kids, my youth pastor deals with kids all the time. And that's just being 6 feet apart or masking or not seeing your peers and staying at home. This vaccine has potential, there's no question about it, to harm. The benefits, like Dave said, for a young person in particular, are so low versus the risk. Thank you so much for your time.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Hello, my name is Bud Grant. I have 2 daughters in Lawrence. Just a dad, just a mill worker, no special, I'm not a doctor, a nurse, or anything like that, but I can read. And the last couple of years have been a traumatic experience, especially for the young generation. regarding this COVID stuff. I'm not the best at public speaking. I got a D in it in college, so I wrote up. I got 5 packets I would like to give to the board. I'll touch on some of the stuff. We have a vaccine adverse events reporting system created by the CDC to monitor all these adverse events that are taking place. If you look at the charts, which I'll have to show you, but basically it gives you from 1990 all the way until 2022, see the very end there, those are deaths from vaccines. I don't know if you can see behind me, but the numbers all the way up to the last 2 years are barely any because they usually pull vaccines when people die. But besides that, I have various, what I would call probably the latest science that I would like to deliver in packet form to you guys regarding what we know about this stuff. Also, there's various other charts that talk about the adverse events. And to conclude, I find it very odd that the FDA would want to limit the release of Pfizer's adverse events for 75 years. I think that's fraudulent, dangerous. If we don't take that into consideration in regards to our children, we're doing them a disservice. In this packet, which I'll drop off 6 of them to you, I have the 9 pages of adverse events. They didn't even space them apart to fit on the paper. That'll be part of this report that I drop off to you guys today. That's all I have to say. Some of these are in color, some are black and white. Here it's on the prints. I just wanted you guys to have this information for any drastic things. Keep going. Thank you.
So these are set up so that the one with the article will scan them.
Everything's a QR code. You don't even have to think. Scan it, it takes you right to it. I want to make sure everyone has the information so we keep the kids safe. I'll give you a beat.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? If not, we'll move on with our agenda. Thank you. Thank you, folks. And I know it's hard to speak up in a public meeting that's recorded and our voices are amplified. So certainly appreciate those who come out and want to participate in the decision making. The next item on the agenda is for old business. Is there any old business? Any new business? On our agenda, we do have an overview of a plan for services and program elements should a grant we've applied for related to the restorative practices for system-enrolled youth be approved, and we know the status of that. Principal Dan Bowers and Dean of Students, Dr. Sherry Brown, are here to discuss their proposals. Full disclosure, I am not at all any way involved in the awarding of this grant. Both of them had to sign off and say they did not speak with anyone with any knowledge of the grant or how it was being
Good evening, Dan Bowers, principal at the high school. Yeah, so this grant, I looked in the Q&A, and we should be hearing anytime, as I said, middle to late January, so we're on track. We're getting a little antsy, hoping to hear positive news. But this goes along with the alternative program that we've already established, our LEAP program, but it's going to help add to it. You know, we do need to address the students who have childhood trauma, ACEs, you're aware of. The kids have been affected negatively by COVID, and just the ones who are really, you know, we use LEAP to get the kids who don't fit into the normal structure of the school day, and these ones that we're targeting don't fit into our daily structure at all. These are kids that are, you know, they're showing up because they need that social interaction, belonging and whatnot, but they are checked out, and, you know, I'm not putting blame on them, but they're checked out with the classes, you know, so we're going to try and target those students within and through this application to broaden our program downstairs. I want to add another teacher and ed tech, and this will be an alternative to suspension placement. You know, will help with classwork, but will also help with extended learning opportunities, and Sherry will address this stuff. But it's just, you know, mental health supports, mentoring, community service programs. This grant will help us address some things, and like Roberta said, some community outreach and whatnot. Sherry's done a great job already with making contact and connections. You know, Alphon Youth, we know, was put in for this, and, you know, we were speaking with them. We didn't officially, well, we met with them, but they're a group that we've been working with anyways. She's got contacts with Colby. Pepe was in this week, one of the professors that's going to be working with her students and our kids in the LEAP program. So we are making inroads that way. We're just looking to expand the alternative program and create this alternative to suspension to try and reconnect these kids. Some it's to get on a pathway, so, you know, when they turn 18 or we get to the point where their class is graduating and they're so far behind they're not, they're either moving right into adult ed, or it could be Job Corps, or it could be through an internship that we've already established with them, that they'll be able to go right into the workplace and then work on their high set, our traditional GED. So I'll let Dr. Brown fill in some gaps, and then we can answer any questions you have.
So, thank you. Hi, Sherry Brown, Academic Dean of Students. So, like Dan said, and I think we talked about, like, a lot of the kids, the behaviors we're seeing, and I think it's not just Lawrence that's seeing them. If you pay any attention to education, which I know some of us do, this is happening everywhere, right? And I think, to name a thing, the world has gone through a pretty significant trauma. And it's like, so for some of our kids who have really good supportive homes, they, you know, with families who care about education, they're dealing with that trauma in ways, you know, that is appropriate in terms of behavior. But for some of our kids, especially those in abject poverty, they've had other, like, really severe traumatic experiences already. These behaviors that we're seeing are pretty, you know, they're completely normal behaviors for what they've experienced. It's just that they're not normal for the place and where they are, right? So what we want to do is, the grant is calling for kind of 3 tiers, but regardless of whether or not we get the grant, we're already putting a lot of those things in place, I think, like Roberta talked about. So the first tier would be training our entire staff on restorative practices. And when we talk about restorative, I know there's some misconceptions about what that really means. What we want to do is we want to hold these kids accountable, but what we do right now is we suspend. So suspending is, you know, you come in, you behave poorly, you skip your classes, we throw you out of school. Then you're out of school for X amount of days, depending on what you do. You're out of school for that long, so then those kids are getting more behind academically. They come back, they're feeling overwhelmed, they act out again, they get suspended again, and it's this cycle that just keeps happening. The message is also sending these kids that we don't want you here, you know. You skipped class, so we're sending you home. It really doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. So when we think about an alternative to suspension program, And don't think in-house suspension, like that's not what we're talking about. An alternative to suspension program is kind of a multifaceted place where students would get the mental health supports they need, substance use support if they need it, where they do work on those academics, they get those needs met that they have, and they also are held accountable for what those behaviors are, right? So that's where our partnerships come in. We've worked with the Alpine Youth Center. They've actually gotten a different grant. I think they're trying to do something very similar there for area schools, so we've talked about possibly working more in partnership with them. Regardless of any of our grant stuff, we're planning on, working with them more. Working with our SRO, working with the Fairfield Police Department, getting these kids out in the community and repairing the relationships, repairing the harm that they've done, right? So the teaching element that is missing for these kids to help them. Randy Liberty from the Maine Department of Corrections, MSAD's own, has done this with the Maine State Prisons, and it's a national model for how to rehabilitate people, right? So that's what we're talking about when we think about that. So that's the alternative to suspension. Training our staff in those practices for restorative practices, and also in trauma-informed practices. Doing the book study. This is a really cool book for any of you teachers. A friend of mine who's a principal in another district, turned me onto it. Really accessible, written by a couple of principals about holding kids accountable, giving classroom strategies, so we'd like to do that with the students. The grant would pay for that. And then finally, kind of as a mid-level, to engage students too, is to give kind of a stipend for an extended learning opportunity coordinator and community connection coordinator, right? Where that's part of the grant. We're kind of doing some of that anyway, but it would give some funding for that. To get, JMG is we're partnering with JMG a lot. Jason Pellerin's doing amazing work, and JMG's doing great things with extended learning opportunities. With getting kids out to the community, getting internships, etc. I probably went over the 3 minutes. I could, but we can answer any question, and about the LEAP program, if there are any questions about that we could go into more. I don't know.
We got better than that. So
Yes.
We got 10 new students into the second semester. Jerry,
Yeah. We actually are turning students away now because students are really excited. So we've been using restorative practices in LEAP. We were trained with the Restorative Justice Institute of Maine. That was part of, when we were talking about our REV grant that we received. So the LEAP team trained with them, and we've been working with some of that. For some of those kids, it's really funny because they'll talk about it. And with new students coming in, they've been talking about, we've got to start those circles and make sure that everybody understands how to do it, and how are they, and there is such a dichotomy split in the personalities of the kids, and they're really gelling. It gives me hope for humanity, honestly, because these kids, it's cool. So we're hoping for better.
So you're officially part of the agenda, so there's no limit.
Oh, okay.
So, are there questions or comments from people?
Oh, I'll go with it. Oh, sorry. You go first. I think you answered it, but so you feel like the fall semester was a success for LEAP and...
Well, it's been, we've had our successes and challenges, right? So it doesn't work for everyone, no. So we've had some struggles with some kids. But I was just talking to our teachers today. There are some kids that have made such amazing gains that really we can see the trajectory really going positively forward, right? Some of our struggles, the REV funding that we wanted, we didn't actually start to get the money till October. So we were running with a, shoestring. They're working in the middle, so we have no new furniture. We just got the hood put in. There's no electricity in places. So the kids are really working in a space but they've been amazing. Some of it's really working well. Are there challenges? Sure. We're 6 months in. I think that's to be expected, but I really, the kids that are coming in, we're so excited. Some of them have been coming down there because they're just we just want to be here, we're ready. So there's some really cool stuff, I think, happening. We've taken field trips, went to the apple farm. They did some volunteer work at Waterville Creates. So for that big new art center that came in, the whole LEAP program went down and packed art kits to be sent out. They've made 2 community meals. We didn't have a stove, so that was really cool with us bringing in our turkey cookers for Thanksgiving, but you know, it was, and kids that are really talking about learning how to cook, it's great, you know, some really cool stuff.
So I'm super excited about more kids and all that, but I'm super confused. I'm lost somewhere because, okay, so when we started that program, like, I was told, like, no, it wasn't for behavioral, and we got all this, but then, so I guess that my question is this?
Oh, it's two different.
This grant is what I'm trying to do with adding a new teacher in ed tech is they're gonna work
Separately.
separately, but you know, there'll be some crossover, but
So the alternative to suspension, would it be for those students or all students? I guess
No,
that's my question.
the alternative to suspension is all. So that would be like, that's the general population, but kind of like when we think about an arm of alternative programming, right? So LEAP is its own thing. It's not behavioral, that's staying the same. We're gonna go
And
with
that
what
is
we're
what you're
doing.
adding 10 new students to?
Yes, alternative.
there's one team to 11 kids, so we're almost at that.
Yeah, and we were really afraid still because we don't even have our furniture yet, not all the space is ready yet to even be maxed. We're a little iffy, but you know, like we're like, okay, we can hit 20. That's LEAP. This alternative to suspension, totally separate. It would be like a separate space, separate, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Where I got
Yeah, because these are,
overlap. Okay, and that is for every student? basically?
no, those are for the severe behaviors that if you were going to get suspended, we're going to do a restorative practice and do these sorts of things instead. Does that make sense?
The restorative stuff is just philosophy. It's probably what you do at home with your kids. You're not gonna, you might send them to their room, but you're not gonna be there. Just bring them down, you're gonna discuss it, they're gonna take ownership. That's the whole practice that we're trying to.
Well, I was just trying to figure out where this overlap was, like where the,
There's not, it's, the overlap might be in staffing.
We have a social
Yeah.
work that goes down and works with you.
so this is truly a new, brand new funding, new
Totally.
operation, kind of on its own.
Yep.
We've got the need, so I think I'm gonna try, if we don't get the grant, still trying to get that position in 2 years.
Because we have a need, that's where I was going.
We have a huge need.
Thank
Like, we have a huge need. Like, I was walking around today and thinking about, honestly, and thinking a third teacher, having this position, we could build an amazing team down there that is, you know, because the social worker comes down weekly with me and is working with at least half of, if not more of our students already. We brought those kids up. They're making, like, the Bulldog Health Center is amazing. If it is one of the biggest assets we have. I can't even tell you how many kids have gotten, you know, healthcare and, you know, and even getting some mental health supports. I mean, we have so many cool things going on, right?
Kudos to you for recognizing the need
It
and
is
addressing the need.
so
Thank
cool.
you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, it's, well, we are working, it's awesome, you know, and the teachers are seeing it. I think we're starting to see kind of a positive, you know, people wanting to come down, like we have people wanting to try things out, people talk, even teachers are like, I can come down for a little bit, you know. The art teachers come down, we have a new science teacher coming down, you know, I could come down and teach maybe a lesson, you know. So people are talking about it, which is cool.
Part of it, if I could add this to answer your question, Trina, the grant is restorative practices for system involved youth in main school. We gave you kids who might have a JCCO, and we have some of them here in our school working with, you know, our person is Russell Pan, who works out of the TA's office. But the grant is specific to that.
And, or, it's like, because if you look even deeper into the grant, it also is for, or kids who may be there. Yep.
At-risk kids
Yep.
on that path
Yep.
to poor outcome. And we know for a variety of reasons, I think, many people who spoke here tonight have talked about just some of the implications for even what the pandemic has caused, just mental health line, disruption in school. Maybe a kid was on track to end up this way, is now reading towards something that we're trying to support. So expanding your leap and thank you for clarifying that, but also trying to address the restorative practices. There's the kids approach, but there's other pieces so you don't have repeat offenders.
Which in turn helps every student in our district, so kudos to you guys for.
And we do intend, regardless if we receive this grant, so Sherry again talked about the red grant, that, the money's came to us like, remind me to get back, we talked about the hood being installed. What are you doing back there? You've got an industrial kitchen set up, something that you're trying to look for, but bringing in some of those activities, hands-on, useful, and productive, and doing, life skill work. But also working with some local agencies. You talked about Alcon, you talked about, in this grant, we have we have the sheriff's office, we have the JCCO assigned to us, actually too. But who else as an organization in the community can help us support these kids?
Well, so we actually, so that's one thing. So then another thing that we also started working on, which actually I was talking to Heather today too. We have this other cool thing. So part of coming out of LEAP, we talked about gardening more, right? Because we're ag, we're all ag. This is, I live on a farm too. This is our ag community. How do we get the kids gardening more? And the junior high, already is doing an amazing job in the garden. So we talked about how can we expand the work that they're already doing. So we invited the junior high to come in and talk with a couple of teachers and then partner with Johnny's. So we had a meeting with Johnny's already. So we've got on Johnny's list for gleaning vegetables, so we're on their drop-off list now for veggies, so we'll be getting, when they have from their farm, they'll be bringing their veggies. We're going to be getting some of the row covers and all kinds of the free stuff that they're willing to give, and then also maybe some education stuff with Johnny's. And then there's another grant that the food service director talked to me today and said, what if we worked on a garden? There's this really cool grant that we could get a team to train, and they'll build a greenhouse so we're going to try to get involved with that. I said, we already have the team. We've already been meeting, and we already met with Johnny. So that's kind of in the works too. The Colby partnership, I think, is really cool, that Dan kind of mentioned. One of the education professors is starting an emerging adulthood class with her students, and we've been talking. She's a professional, in her expertise is motivation and adolescent motivation, and so she's looking at college and career and how kids get there with her students. And so we've been talking about doing a co-collaborative project, not one person teaching another, but our kids all coming together and doing some, purpose work. Like, what is their purpose? Thinking about their values. And then each of them kind of do it on their own, and then come and maybe interview community members and then do a collaborative project on that. And so that's in the work for this semester too. Her kids will come to Lawrence, and our kids will get up to Colby, and then they may get out to the community and do some interviewing too. So Colby's there.
We've got to get a community communication or community committee or whatever also to help, face-to-face with everybody, because we all deal with some of these kids that, possibly over the summer, that's when we were in class and whatnot. So there's stuff that we all can under the table trying to work out. So that's a plan to get that going.
Is it, can you just talk about, is it one grant that one place is gonna get that multiple?
It's a $1 million grant that they'll split depending on the schools. And so we have no idea what that means. We're kind of hoping it's not an all or nothing. This was the discussion we were getting on right before we submitted it.
Is like one place getting?
No, they're splitting the money.
Okay.
So we're hoping we showed support because we have really strong support. We have really strong community partners. So we're hoping. But even if we don't get that grant, a lot of these pieces, and with your support, maybe we can find some of those other places. We probably can't pay for 2 days per diem to train our staff, but perhaps, there might be some other things that we can do, especially in terms of staffing for LEAP, the alternative to suspension, things like that, that could be worked in.
That's a great question. Grants dry up and what's sustainable after that. And probably one of the most important things we can do is, the next, you go to biology, you go on to English, whatever, and that's difficult for some kids, so, I appreciate what you're doing and the work that you're doing, and the enthusiasm that you're building and the successes, and you're off to a good start, given so little time, and not having the funds to set up the facility. I think it would be helpful to you, us, at some point, to go down and look. You were a student awards high school years ago. There's way in the back of the basement where, interestingly, family use for science or home economics was. Betty Turcotte used to work there, and there was a kitchen, and the way back was the sewing room. And that is the space that they're in right now. Scott and his team have worked hard.
They've done amazing.
Total
Yeah.
citizen to get that place retrofitted. And there's still work to be done, but we got $250,000 that has to be expended from October to the end of this year to kind of.
We got it extended.
Okay, that's wonderful. We can't get the work done fast enough.
And we're supposed to get a van, and we can't get one for a year, so.
Okay, yeah, that's on the wish list when we get kids from here to off campus activities. So it's a lot that you've done in a short amount of time, and I thank you for that. Could I shoot? Oh, I'm sorry. No, go ahead. Well, there was, and this kind of relates to how we're working with the population we have, which we have planned for Mondays.
Oh, yeah,
Service
sure.
that relates to.
So hopefully, if we have it. So part of what we started working on when we started doing the REV funding is we're working with a small nonprofit named Rural Aspirations, and actually the woman who runs it, Corsol, is amazing. And you can Google the work that they do. And it's really about thinking about multiple pathways and project-based learning, for students. And so she's come in and she trained LEAP, and I was like, this is amazing. And since we didn't get the REV money on the time, and Dan was able to spend we had some PD money, I said, we need to train the whole staff, right? So we were like, let's bring Cora in. We're going to do a half-day training on Monday, and we're moving staff off campus to Thomas. So Thomas was really another partnership, willing to lend us the space. KBCC's lent us space, Colby's lent us space for our training, so we're making those partnerships there. And so we're going to Thomas, and she's doing a half-day training on community-focused project-based learning to get teachers to think about how even in a small way they can institute that in their classrooms, right? And so they'll talk as, they're gonna talk as departments, and then they'll split up and talk together and share out and do more work, and how do we bring some of this in a small way, the things that we're thinking about in LEAP in a big way into our classrooms just in general. It's, and for the teachers who've trained, we've had 3 trainings, one with LEAP and 2 with some of our classroom teachers that are kind of the pilot projects that they'll be doing this semester. The biggest thing that they said was being able to get off campus, being able to talk to professionals and adults, and really think about why it is that we love teaching was rejuvenating. They all came back pretty jazzed. So even though some teachers are grumbling, why are you going to Thomas? Well, that's why, because you can't go back to your classroom to grade your papers. You can't, you're not going to go do that work that we know we all have, and getting to a different place changes the mind and helps to actually some research behind that to remember what they're doing. So it'll be really cool if we have it, and if not, I'm hoping March if it starts. If we can't get to it, yeah.
That's one of the conditions of the REV funding that we had was the sustainability of what we were trying to do.
Yeah.
Is this only high school?
This is the high school. Yeah.
This grant specifically is?
Yeah, both words. Yeah.
So I've been saving a couple of questions. One is just pretty mundane. Sharon, earlier you were talking so clearly and effectively about the youth program, and almost felt like you were working there day to day, but you don't. So just
Me, what I do? Kind of. Kind of.
being the designer, how would you describe your role?
I don't, yeah. So I've been here, I have almost a year now, right? And so I work one-on-one with students for credit recovery. So I'm doing that. So I pull in a lot of seniors, so kids, so they know when they see me, they come in, and we're working, helping them with their career recovery, ingenuity, that sort of thing, mentoring. But I am doing a lot of the design and kind of administrative work for LEAP, running the grant, ordering all the stuff. I've run a ton of restorative circles, so we've had with teachers and staff and students, so I'd help run some of that stuff, kind of the collaborate every week and
I'm not asking to justify what you're doing.
yeah,
How is this possible?
yeah, there's a lot.
So switching questions a little bit, this is much more of a conceptual question. With the systems involved, how close would you say you are to being a court diversion program? Is that the term?
What do you mean? Could you clarify?
Like diversion to assets, diverting someone away from the court system. So
Yeah, that's sort of like that. That's the philosophy, philosophically, conceptually. I think that's pretty much what we're talking about. So that's kind of on a look, but in a way that still restores and is accountable for whatever the action was that happened, which is, I think, part of what those kind of diversion programs do as well, in more of a rehabilitative.
right. So if someone were a student really were in the criminal justice system or whatever system, could they avoid whatever penalty?
Oh, no, I don't, we're not there yet, no, we're separate from the court system, right? Yeah, we may partner with the JCCO and we'll partner with the SRO or the police department or some of those systems for the kids who may be involved there, but that's not what we're looking to do, beyond our scope, I think.
Are there more comments about the project?
Just with Dan and Dr. Brown, it's been an amazing journey. Like Roberta said, it's been a very short period of time. And it went from, I remember the first time, it was just Dan kind of pondering an idea. And it just grew so quickly, so fast. And it's just amazing to see what you guys have done. So this point already.
I need to take a tour of the facility with Karen, and we have a great space. We have an access door outside, and I think they painted picnic tables. Some of the day they've done that, so a lot of creative things. So look forward to seeing the new furniture and everything put into the room.
It's coming, it's cool, it's gonna look like a makerspace. We're getting like a cool makerspace table, and that's really cool. Thank you, Red Funding. Yeah.
It's all very exciting. One of the things I like to do is read and also assign reading. And I understand that the National Council of Teachers of English published an article by Dr. Brown that might be worth our while to take a look at.
Thanks. Oh, but did you? So it's teaching resilience through literature and the trauma. Yeah. So it was some work that I did at Waterville that when I started, right? So because I've done a lot of work there. So yeah, it's in a new book on trauma sensitive teaching practices in English classrooms. So yeah, it was pretty exciting.
Article just came out.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
We need a motion to move to adopt a resolution entitled, and it is came in your packet, and folks who are listening can certainly have access to it. It's publicly available. It is the resolution to authorize real estate transactions for school construction project in the form presented at this meeting, and that an attested copy of said resolution be filed with the minutes of this meeting.
So moved.
All right, it was moved by Kate Vines here. I think I heard Liz, my other here. Not everyone probably has a copy of this who's interested. Certainly the board members are, but not everyone out in the audience listening. It is a resolution to authorize real estate transactions for the school construction project in Benton. It includes a clause or a paragraph about the flood property and about an easement for central main power and other project real estate interests. So the motion is on the table. Are there questions or comments? Should I read the motion to you? I move to adopt a resolution entitled Resolution to Authorize Real Estate Transactions for School Construction Project in form presented at this meeting, and then an attested copy of the resolution filed in the minutes of this meeting. I'm not sure if that was in the agenda, but on top of here, so I read it one more time. And then Terry has moved that, and I will second it. Let's go to that. All in favor? Raise your hand. Seems to me like there are 12 of us in favor of this. Opposed? No. Abstained? Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, and,
We're starting around, there's one we've got to sign.
sign that, I also
Just attach.
the minutes.
Yes, just one.
Doesn't work.
Very good.
So we have another executive, we have an executive session. Do you want the, while people are here, to read anything about appointments or resignations?
Yes.
Sure. Okay, I disagree. We will end our meeting with the executive session, but looking ahead, skipping over it for a moment, we have some appointments. We have one appointment. We will vote to approve Ralph Strong as custodian, given his probation is complete. So moved by, I think I heard Heather, Billy Joe was second. All in favor? Looks to me like 12. No opposed. No abstained. Okay. And then we have some resignations. These were 4 resignations, and they're actually all retirements. Many of you will recognize the names. These are folks who have worked in our district for years. Teddy Blakeney, Clinton Elementary School Special Education, retirement in June. Vicki Bessie, Benton Elementary Special Education teacher, also retirement in June. Tina, I don't know if she says Couturier or Couture, junior high guidance, retiring in June. And Doris Pratt, reading recovery and literacy teacher, retiring in June. So I think most of you know that there will be a recognition of folks who are retiring at the end of the school year. For now, this is documented that they submitted their resignation. We can take the superintendent's report.
Yes.
I can have this.
Wanted to begin by sharing a couple of activities happening in the school district on the MPI Slave Showcase also to get our permanent bond issued by the building in spring of 2024, which is the full amount of the bond or less. Can go over that amount. It will allow us to do the important work like purchasing the property a year from now. We'll be breaking ground on that site. So it's pretty exciting to turn the corner on this, to pay our architectural firm to actually design occupancy is set for December of 2025. And, it would be better if occupancy is available this by, late August or the 1st of September, but that's not going to be the case. But we have some time to work toward that and clean it out and get very quickly. But one thing that the board should have in mind as we develop a school calendar for that year is to give us more holiday school break time around that. And it might mean that year we have to go a little later in June because it would require some days. But as much as we can plan for it, that transition as soon as possible. And I think I just wanted our principals to update, so I have Mr. Bowers, Mrs. Reynolds, and this evening Mrs. Gordon will speak on behalf of our three elementary principals. And Mrs. Gordon, if you mind.
A little tall for me, Dan. It's okay. News from Albion Elementary and Fairfield Primary Schools. On Tuesday, January 3rd, Dino Man, the paleontologist, visited Albion and Fairfield Primary to talk about the Mesozoic era, the age of the Earth, and how fossils are formed. The presentation included a number of full gym-sized dinosaurs to give the students an idea of the scope of a dinosaur's size. At Fairfield Primary, Dino Man stayed with us a little longer to host a workshop where the children were able to handle fossils and hear more about them. This hands-on workshop was a good fit for our students' curiosity about dinosaurs. In Albion, grades K through 6 are taking Winter NUIA mid-year assessments along with the other elementary schools. Our kindergartners are taking the math growth assessments in math and reading for the first time this round. In the fall, our district kindergartners take a shorter, age-appropriate language fluency assessment as they begin school, and it is not until mid-year that they take map growth. On January 12th and on the 26th, the Albion DEI Committee is in the review process of the students' results from the climate survey our 5th and 6th graders took in November. Our 5th and 6th graders will also be participating in the Maine Integrated Youth Health Survey on January the 24th. Bob Stewart from the Maine College Circle will visit Albion on January 25th for an aspirations workshop held for grades 3 through 6 to help them think about their future and to help the students in grades 4 through 6 with the upcoming scholarship writing contest. For professional development, both school staffs are reading, discussing, and watching the videos from the Jan Richardson text, The Next Step Forward in Guided Reading, an assessment-decided guide framework for supporting every reader's grade K through 6, which is a part of our school improvement plan focus. Fairfield Primary teaching staff are also reviewing and discussing conscious discipline videos on preventing bullying. In Benton, we have much to celebrate and be thankful for at Benton Elementary. We are proud of the tremendous growth I have seen in our students since they first arrived in September. While visiting classrooms, Ms. Blaze and I continue to be impressed with how successful and happy our students have been. I am thankful for our wonderful and talented teachers, as well as such a supportive community. Here are a few highlights from December and January. Our student council collected and delivered over 1,265 items to the Fairfield Interfaith Food Pantry. Benton Elementary staff, PTO, and community donations provided 71 students with Christmas gifts. Our PTO craft fair was a huge success. Our chorus and band students did a tremendous job performing at our Christmas concert. We are excited to host the MLTI 2.0 Slam Showcase at Benton Elementary on Friday, January 20th. It will be a high-energy, interactive day of learning for our 6th graders. Some of the topics covered include 3D printing, media production, virtual reality, coding, and much more. I would like to start with the 2022 holiday season at Clinton, which was full of activities as we celebrated with a Christmas concert, a holiday dance, candygrams, a door decorating contest, a movie PJ day, and of course, an ugly sweater day. We had a visit from the high school pride group as they performed their skit highlighting friendship and sharing with our students in grades pre-K through 3. We also celebrated our Students of the Month with a pizza luncheon where they each received medals and certificates. We look forward to the month of January as we continue our recognition of the Students of the Month. Our 5th and 6th grade students take the Maine Integrated Youth Health Survey. All grades participate in the Winter NUIA assessment. Maine College Circle will begin their work with our students in grades 4 through 6 as they discuss their college aspirations and prepare to write essays. And Clinton Parks and Rec will sponsor another LEGO family game night in our gym. I would also like to mention that our student council accepted a challenge from KV CAP to collect diapers and wipes for families in our community. Clinton Elementary collected 1,358 diapers and wipes, winning the distinction of being the group who collected the most items. KV CAP awarded us with gift certificates for participation and for the most items collected, and these will be used to do something for the students. On Monday, the elementary in-service will begin with some work around our ELA curriculum, ensuring we are aligned with the most current MLRs. The afternoon will focus on our climate surveys and plans to move forward addressing any student needs that arose as a result of those surveys. Thank you.
Hi. So Lawrence Junior High School is settling in with our new administration, and as we move into the second half of our school year, we've created a building leadership team of staff members representing the content areas of our school. The leadership team is an all-volunteer group of staff with a mission to make our school better in all aspects, addressing needs of the students and the staff. Our focus will be on collaborative leadership, where we as a group discuss and implement new ideas that will help improve the learning environment at Lawrence Junior High School. And hopefully from that group, we'll have some other great highlights and updates as we move out through the year. So our biggest excitement in the building is we have adopted a four-legged therapy pet in our library. Becky Anderson is our librarian. She did a great amount of research. And there is a guinea pig in the library, proved to be very therapeutic for students who have experienced trauma. They have adopted him. She received over 50 votes on his name. His name is Horton. It has been a wonderful experience for our students who have been trained on how to handle him. We have some students who have come out of the woodwork to come see what this little animal is about, so it's really opened up an opportunity for lots of students. And Horton may work with our speech and language person, Heidi Thacker, to work with a student who's having some difficulty communicating, and she's hoping that that'll be a good avenue of conversation with that student. And then our theater group recently brought some production back to Lawrence Junior High School with their first production last week, and it went very well. A big thank you to the students and staff that worked so hard to bring it back. And then our chorus also performed their concert last week, and all went well. Everybody was entertained by their efforts and talents. And then most recently, this week, our 8th grade students went and visited Mid-Maine Tech. This is something that has come back since it went away with COVID. It's an opportunity for all of our students to go to the Tech Center, and they get to experience 3 or 4 different classes in groups of 13 to 15. They got rave reviews for their behavior, and they represented our school district very well. So we're very proud of the staff and the students that took that opportunity to see what they might be exposed to as high school students for the technology education. Thank you.
So the high school, we had a choral concert, I believe, last week. I can't remember if it's running together, but that was nice. We split ours. We had the high school, we had the band, the traditional holiday concert for the Christmas break, and then we just had the choral 1, 7, 12. We got a midwinter dance scheduled, the Sadie Hawkins dance scheduled for Saturday night, and that will be in our gym. The second semester, depending on snow tomorrow or not, tomorrow we're done with finals week other than tomorrow's makeup day, and if that gets snowed out, we'll move that into Tuesday. So probably, well, I don't want to speak for it. So the plan is we'll start the semester on Tuesday, unless it gets snowed out, and we'll start it on Wednesday. I'll make the call now. can't remember if I told you about a senior student of ours, Eric Cochran, that got a Quest Bridge scholarship. Okay, so this is, the Quest Bridge Scholarship is a scholarship that pays for all 4 years for the school the student chooses to go. They have to be on a list, it's a lot of Ivy League schools, and Erica is one of 2 majors that received the scholarship this year, well, for next year when she goes, and she's going to Dartmouth. I asked her what she was interested in majoring in, she wasn't sure, but she said neuroscience, so I said, good for you. But it's over $200,000, it's amazing, and in looking at the scholarship online, it targets low-income areas, rural areas, and, you know, they not only get the scholarship funds, but there's also some networking and stuff that they do with these students, so it's an awesome opportunity. 2 in Maine, one, ours is Oxford Hills.
The other one is awarded to one of our employees' sons who's graduating from Waterville. So,
Oh, I don't think it's not this one, because the other recipient is in Oxford Hills.
well, this is the Quest Bridge, but anyway.
Wow.
Good.
Yeah, it's awesome. Oh, sweet.
So we're connected quite to that.
Perfect. And we're hosting the Katy Music Festival in February, and then in March we'll be hosting the state one-act plays again. So that's good. Things are getting normal, so we're back into the flow of things again. And later in February, in March, we'll be working on getting the schedules out so students can choose classes for next year. So that stuff will be coming forward. Hopefully I'll have a clearer picture next board meeting with that, but that's our report.
It's good to hear from folks out in the school, so thank you for the reports this evening. And is that ends the superintendent and school administrator's report. Are there any committee reports from members of the various committees here? I know the finance and facilities committee met.
Contract obligations and salaries and those projections as far as the percentage of these.
And I asked Scott Washburn to prepare his own news for utilities. And it's quite dramatic, so we're up, we'll be $360,627 according to his calculations. But I think everyone in the world is feeling this. This is how dramatic it is for a school department, you know, with all these buildings.
to vote whether or not to go into the